Hey, what's up, guys? Joseph here from my thoughts on my favorite and least favorite movies of 2017. I apologize, I know it's a little late, but I've been busy with work and personal stuff and things like that. Now, needless to say, if I don't have cover a movie here, I haven't seen it. So, that being said, go ahead and get into it. This might be my favorite movie of 2017. It was the only movie I watched from this year that had me crying like a baby. I don't want to spoil the movie, but if you don't tear up or at least get choked up at the end of the movie, something's wrong with you. The performances from everybody were great. The kid, Lewis. I looked up his name, Lewis McDougall. I'm not sure how his last name is pronounced, but he was fantastic. Sigourney Weaver, Felicity Jones, Toby Kebbell, Liam Neeson as the tree. They were all great as well as the supporting cast behind the Lewis. The three stories and their animation style from the tree, I thought it was great. It reminded me a lot of I was Deathly Hallows Part 1, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 with A Tale of the Three Brothers. That's what the animation style reminded me of. Every moment of this movie I loved. I was never bored at any point looking at the time to see how much longer the movie had. I loved this movie. I highly recommend it if you have not seen The Monster Calls. Personally, this is my favorite comic book movie of 2017 and my second favorite comic book movie of all time, after Batman Begins. If you guys see my top 100 movies of all time, you know how I feel about both of them. I honestly didn't really cry at the end of the movie. I came real close, and I think that it had to do with me watching it in the theater. If I would have waited till the movie came out on DVD or saw it on TV on HBO or something, I probably would have cried at my house. But being in the theater, I kind of, I don't really try to cry in public, but but I mean, I came real close. But Hugh Jackman will always be Wolverine. There is no person they could recast. I know that Marvel has bought the X-Men back, or is in talks of getting the X-Men back. I don't think it's actually finalized, but it's a very strong rumor. So I know if they do actually 100% get them back, they're going to recast Wolverine. They have to. They can't have X-Men without Wolverine. Whoever they cast, they do, there's no one that can replace Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman will and forever always will be Wolverine. And I know he said he would consider coming back to play Wolverine again if the X-Men did join the MCU. So maybe they won't actually recast him, so here's to hope. The most entertaining comic book movie of 2017, Cate Blanchett wasn't as great of a villain as she appeared in the trailer. There were several laugh out loud moments. I don't know where it ranks among the rest of the MCU movies. I'll probably make that video sometime later this year, ranking all the MCU movies. But Thor Ragnarok's probably going to be near the top, to be honest with you. Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston were great. One of the funniest parts of the whole movie to me was Get Help. And now Thor has become Odin with only one eye with the eye patch. Didn't he have the same eye patch? I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie since I watched it in the theaters on opening. I think it was opening night. It was sometime during opening weekend. I think it was opening night, but I'm not sure. But Valkyrie was amazing. Mark Ruffalo was one of the best parts about the movie, with the scene where he jumped out of the spaceship to save the day when the wolf was running, and once Mark hit the floor or the bridge, I can't think of that. They have a name for it. The Bifrost Bridge. Once Mark Ruffalo hit the Bifrost Bridge, the wolf just stopped, and oh, there was so many laugh out loud moments during this whole thing. Those are the first two that come to mind, as the get help and when Mark Ruffalo fell out the spaceship. I know there are so many others. The Hulk and Thor fight scene was awesome, with Loki saying, "I need to get off this planet," and when Hulk was smashing Thor around, Loki's telling him that's how it feels, referencing the being thrown around in the Avengers. I love Thor Ragnarok. It was probably, like I said, the most entertaining comic book movie of the 2017. The best horror movie of 2017, and one of my favorite horror movies, if not my favorite horror movie of the 21st century. I mean, Bill Skarsgård, he might surpass Tim Curry in the sequel. Like I said, he might. If this movie is any indication, he could surpass Tim Curry in the sequel. Whenever the sequel comes out, I think it's. I'm not even sure when to guess, but Bill Skarsgård, he was fantastic as Pennywise. All the kids were great, which in movies, horror movies especially, is pretty rare. The only negative thing I can say about this movie is that it wasn't as scary as I was hoping, but I don't really care about that, because it focused on being a good movie first rather than being a good horror movie, if that makes sense. So it transcended being a horror movie and was a good movie. Really enjoyed this movie. Tom Holland, he proved himself as Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War, and Homecoming he proved himself as Peter Parker, so now Tom Holland has become my Spider-Man. Michael Keaton took a character in The Vulture who I always considered a joke and turned him into one of the best villains in the MCU. Argument can be made of him being the best villain. But that's a video for another day. But everybody, the sidekick Ned, I don't know the actor's name, but he was great. I'm curious to see what happens with MJ, not Mary Jane, but MJ. I don't think they said her actual name, but they said it's not Mary Jane, so whatever. But I'm curious to see how the second Homecoming I don't think it's Homecoming 2, or I know the second Spider-Man movie in the MCU turns out, but yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming is awesome. M. Night Shyamalan might actually be making a comeback. I like The Visit. I thought it was a major improvement over some of his previous movies, but Split was the first M. Night Shyamalan movie I have loved since Unbreakable. I haven't seen Signs, that's the only one I haven't seen, but I've seen all his others, and since Unbreakable hasn't really done that much good. Anyways, like I said, I haven't seen Signs. I know some people love it, some people hate it. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on it, but Split, I love Split. It made you think it was a horror movie at the beginning, or a horror thriller, more on the thriller side, I'd say, for the majority of the movie. And at the very end, it changed from being a horror thriller to an origin movie for a supervillain. James McAvoy might be it might be my favorite performance of his. Anya Taylor-Joy, fantastic. Loved her in The Witch, loved her in Split, and now she's part of the X-Men universe with the New Mutants. I hope that when Shyamalan makes this Glass movie, I hope it's a great end to a great superhero trilogy. An argument can't be made that this Wonder Woman is the most important superhero movie of the 21st century. I mean, it's the first female-led superhero movie, that's actually good. Gal Gadot and Chris Pine, fantastic. The only negative thing I can come up with about this movie is the villain. He wasn't as strong of a villain as he could have been. He was better than Lex and Doomsday and BVS and the Enchantress and Suicide Squad, but worse than Zod and Man of Steel. He was about equal to Steppenwolf in Justice League. I mean, I might give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was probably better than Steppenwolf, but Gal Gadot is the saving grace for the DCEU. There are few superhero castings who are pitch perfect, who own the roles when people actually misjudge the casting when they're first announced. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Michael Keaton as Batman, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. You can now add Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman to that list.
You wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Cause I just wrote a song about how I'm gonna kick all your butts.
Stop him before he starts singing!
When the Lego movie was first announced, everybody, including me, said it was the stupidest idea Hollywood has ever done. And then the Lego movie actually came out and shocked everybody, including me. And then Lego Batman was announced. I thought the Lego movie was one of those things where it was a miracle that it worked. It was like once in a lifetime. There was no way they could ever recapture that magic. But I watched Lego Batman movie and somehow they did it again. I haven't seen that Lego Ninjago movie, so I don't know if that was any good or whatever, but the Lego Batman I loved. I don't love it as much as the Lego movie, but it's still pretty good. I love this movie. My two main problems with this installment in the Star Wars franchise is one being Snoke. There's a theory going around that he's not dead. I mean, I'm not saying I 100% believe in it, but it was just a waste of a character, really. Then again, I was expecting Snoke to be like the Emperor of the new trilogy, so maybe I just got my hopes up too high, but Snoke, he was, if this really is the death of him, I guess it's alright. I mean, Kylo Ren, it did make him 100% go to the dark side. I don't see any way they could possibly turn him back over to the light. If they do, there's no way they're gonna turn Kylo back over. There's no freaking way. My second problem was the stuff that was on like the Las Vegas planet. That I don't know the name of the planet, but I found it to be just a little unnecessary and at times boring. Captain Phasma, people are upset over how they killed her off and everything. I honestly never understood the fascination of her, and Boba Fett. I never really understood the fascination of Boba Fett either, but other than that, I loved Daisy Ridley, Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, all their performances, and especially Carrie Fisher, rest in peace. The Porgs. They're better than the Ewoks, I'll say that. I mean, the Porgs, they were just comic relief. Ewoks actually made the Stormtroopers into a joke in Return of the Jedi, so, I mean, the Porgs didn't really turn anything into a joke like that. So I don't really hate the Porgs as much as some other people do, but, oh, man. Yeah, I love The Last Jedi. I could go on and on about this movie, but yeah, Star Wars Last Jedi was great. A perfect end to one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time. Andy Serkis gives one of his best motion capture performances in this entire trilogy. Woody Harrelson, fantastic as the villain. My only complaint, not really about this movie, but is the fact that I wish this movie was more successful at the box office, because it deserved more than it got. Then again, it came at probably a bad time, coming out right after, I think it was like the week after Spider-Man Homecoming, and Spider-Man Homecoming destroyed the box office. So I think if this movie would have come out before Spider-Man Homecoming, it probably would have done better, but still, I think this movie deserved a whole lot more money than it got. If you guys didn't already hate me, you probably will after this one. I thought Get Out was fine. It wasn't this masterpiece of cinema I was expecting from everyone else talking about it. I saw the reveal, spoiler alert, I saw the reveal of the mind control coming from a mile away. The twist of the girlfriend was in on it the whole time. I saw it coming. I didn't see anything in this movie as a surprise, really. That being said, I'm not saying this was a terrible movie. Like I said before I started talking trash about the movie, I thought it was fun. I liked it. I wasn't bored. It was good. It was alright. It was just wasn't this amazing 5-star classic of a movie that I was expecting. I guess that pretty much hurt my feelings on it, because of that it didn't live up to the hype. So maybe if I see it again with low expectations, maybe I'll come around to actually liking it more. But I mean, I thought the performances were great. It just, didn't live up to that hype. That's all. But it was. I still recommend everybody watching it if you haven't already seen Get Out. I really enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people hated this movie when it was released, but I thought Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, and Sam Jackson were all great. John C. Reilly was by far my favorite performance in the movie. The fight scenes between Kong and that giant lizard, well, there was more than one, but all the fight scenes that Kong was involved in, even the ones where he was fighting the helicopters coming in, I love the movie. I just cannot wait for the King Kong vs. Godzilla. I think in 2020, 2021, somewhere. I think it's 2020. I'm not sure, but I cannot wait for King Kong vs. Godzilla. I thought Beauty and the Beast joined the short line of good live adaptations of Disney classics. Cinderella and Jungle Book are the only two others, but I know a lot of people had two main criticisms for the movie: the Beast's CGI look, and it was the quote-unquote the exact same as the animated classic. The CGI, it didn't really bother me. The criticism of being the exact same as the animated movie, the purpose of these live adaptations for me is one simple thing: expand the mythology and still pay respect to the source material. To say that it was the exact same, correct me if I'm wrong. I know I've seen the animated movie, I don't know how many times, but I don't remember the animated movie explaining where Belle's mom was. I don't remember explaining the Beast Prince's backstory with his parents. The plot hole of how the villagers didn't actually remember of the giant castle with the person who ruled over them was finally solved in the live adaptation. To say it was the exact same, no. So for everybody complaining about that, just shut up, really. Like I've said before, I've already done a full review on this movie, Justice League. I really enjoyed it. I'll put the link in the description below for my full review, but I'll talk about it a little bit. But I enjoyed Justice League. I thought every member of the league did a great job. The end credit scenes building up the future of the DCEU, I thought was awesome. Jesse Eisenberg in that post-credit scene, I said in the review that if that post-credit scene was any indication, it was certainly an improvement over the Joker parody that we got in BVS. But Justice League, like I said with Wonder Woman, the only thing that I didn't really care for in the movie was the villain. He was underdeveloped. Yeah, there were some similarities between Justice League and the Avengers. I mean, you can't help but compare this movie to the Avengers. You really can't. Just like if Justice League would have come out before the Avengers, we couldn't help but compare the Avengers to Justice League. I mean, you can't help but compare this movie to the Avengers. And yeah, there's some similarities with looking for a cube, looking to go into like this portal to the sky. Yeah, there are some similarities, but I don't care. The superhero movies like this, their main purpose is to entertain, and Justice League entertained me. So I liked Justice League. Now, usually with spiritual movies, I'm honestly not that really big of a fan of them. But with The Shack, I enjoyed it. I thought Sam Worthington did a good job. I mean, before this, the only movies that I've seen of his was Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans and the Avatar movie. I think if you're a Christian, you'll probably like this movie. If you're not, I'd say give it a shot at least. Now, I watched this movie with a group of friends, and I hadn't seen any trailers or anything. I didn't even know who was in it. Only thing I knew was the title and that it fell under the horror genre. Other than that, I went into this movie blind. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know anything else about it. And I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. It was nothing too great, but nothing too bad. My main problem with the movie was the fact that there weren't that many scares, and some of the performances I thought weren't that great. I can't remember the actor's name. I don't know the actor's name, or I can't remember the character's name, but I think it's the only white guy that guy. He was probably my least favorite part about the whole movie. But other than that, Flatliners, it was one of those things where I've seen better, but I've seen worse. It was just like right in the middle, but probably more on the worse side of things. But yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was the biggest disappointment of the year. I thought it was fine the first time I saw it, but every time I rewatch it, I like it less and less. This movie, it might be my least favorite MCU movie. But like I said with Thor, that'll be a video worthy of being an installment in that ranking series. But I mean, some of the jokes landed, but most of them didn't. Sadly, I mean, it was a waste of Kurt Russell, Chris Pratt, and the rest of the Guardians. They were fine. Michael Rooker as Yondu was my favorite part of the whole movie. I'm trying to remember everything that happened in this movie, and it was okay, but it was disappointing. It was highly disappointing. By far the worst movie that I have ever seen in 27, or the worst movie that I've seen in 2017 is Rings. The Ring is one of my favorite horror movies of the 21st century. Rings is the exact opposite. I don't know why or how, but I actually thought this movie was okay the first time I watched it. Rewatched it about a couple of weeks ago, and my God, it was awful. It was the worst movie I've seen all year long. From the twist to most of the performances, if not all the performances, it was just a terrible movie, and that's putting it kindly. Please, Hollywood, never touch this franchise again. I thought the second Ring movie was bad, but Rings makes the Ring 2 look like a masterpiece. Just kill the franchise. Even though you try to set up a sequel, I hope it never happens. Alright, that's it for this video. What are your favorite and least favorite movies of 2017? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and be sure to hit that share button to share with your friends, family on social media. As always, like me on Facebook at JMatch97, follow me on Twitter at JMatch97, follow me on Instagram at JMatch_97. All those social media links are in the description below. Mash out.